Hi, welcome back to the farm. My name's Roz, also known as Passion Flower, and you'll find me here each week talking about my farming and creative life. There have been quite a lot of controlled burns happening around here lately. The weather has kind of been not too hot, not those crazy hot days that we had, but not cool either. And the wind has not been that strong gusty wind that we were getting for a little while, where there was quite where there was quite high fire danger. So there have been some controlled burns to try to reduce the undercarriage and the debris, because over the past few years everything has grown quite a lot. So hopefully that means that it'll prevent fires in the future. What it has meant though, because it's been still and sort of foggy as well, the smoke has been staying down in the valleys. So we have had full mornings where it's been like hazy and strange, and you can smell the smoke really strongly. And it takes quite a while for it to burn off throughout the day, like for the sun to burn it off. And then it kind of settles back down again in the evening. It's made the moon look quite crazy and amazing and huge and really interesting colors. And it's made being outside not terribly pleasant because of that smoke that's been around. So today is much better, and there is some rain predicted, so that will hopefully clear the air as well. It's supposed to be quite a lot actually, so I'm hoping that it is a lot, but not heavy torrential downpour, because what we want is not flash flooding and for the water to just like skim off the top of the surface, but we want proper rain that's going to gradually soak through into the ground, because everything is so dry right now. And if it just is a downpour, it'll just kind of flow off the top. What we want is for it to actually sink down into the soil. So I did have the sheep out here in the shed paddock bit, but they very quickly decimated all of the green. So I've put them back into just their paddock, which was already down to literally nothing. They've still got plenty of hay, so they're fine. But they did really enjoy that little bit of green. But in order to make sure that they get some more of that shortly, I need to protect it and not get them to rip it all out. So I would hope that rain actually helps to get that grass growing again as well. So part of the reason that I moved them as well as the fact that they were completely eating down the grass in there, is that Vito was starting to try and climb the fence at a couple of points to reach the garden on the other side. And he was like kind of standing on parts of the wire to lower it down and getting over. I don't think he was trying to escape or climb out, but he could get to the point where it takes one extra step and then he's all of a sudden out of the paddock. And if I'm not around, that would be a problem. So I moved them back into their main paddock. Then he started to do it on a particular point in the main area. Hurley was sticking his head out through the square sections in the wire, as he does, and you've seen his neck and what he does. He just sticks his head out all the time. Because Vito has horns, he can't do that. So what he tries to do is, when Hurley pushes, he gets in underneath him and tries to get the grass like that is in the space where Hurley's managed to push the fence further. But Hurley was actually trying to reach the Thai basil that I have growing out here, and he's able to like nibble on the ends. The plant's actually grown back, so it used to grow forward towards the fence, and now it's grown backwards the other way because it keeps getting eaten on that side. But Vito was trying to grab a bit of that, and he started to try and climb over the fence, or get his head over the top of the fence, because he knows he can't go through. So I had to do some emergency fencing. Not what I was planning on doing, but have to make sure I keep those crazy kids in. So I got an extra star picket and I popped it down between the two that were already there, in the spot where he was trying to get over and where Hurley's been going through. Placed that in, and then attached the fencing wire to that with what we normally use for electric fencing. So they're like plastic clips. So I'm hoping that has now fixed that problem in that spot. We did use that fix in another spot to stop them from eating one of the trees that we'd planted, and that did seem to work. So hopefully that now not only saves the plant, but also prevents Vito from potentially accidentally escaping. Oh, right. So it is April, which means that this month my markets start. Now, it's not until the end of the month I will be at the Warragul All About Fibre and Yarn Festival. So I still have a few weeks to prepare. And as you know, I have been gradually preparing and building up my stock because I like to get myself very organized and have lots of stock available. And I don't want to be stressing out last minute. So I'm now at the point where I probably need to get everything out, really take a look at it, decide on those other colors that I want to kind of incorporate in that I haven't dyed yet. I'm hoping that my wispy mohair base arrives before that first market. It's on back order and I've been told it's going to arrive in April. So hopefully it arrives early April and I get the chance to get some of that dyed up before my first market. If not, that's okay. But because I do have plenty of other yarn. So if you would like to see where I'm going to be this year, I will leave a link below to the list of my markets, my confirmed dates, and I'll be sharing them here as they come up, and they'll also be on my Instagram feed. And I'll be really excited to see you in person, to chat all things yarn and to see things that you've made. As a reminder, if you have made something with my yarn, I would love it if you would send me an email with a picture of what you have made, or tag me on Instagram, and I will include that in my finished projects gallery that I have on my stand. I love to be able to show other people what's possible with the yarn. I can't make samples and examples of things with every single color and in every single style or whatever. So if you'd knitted or crocheted or woven something with my yarn, I would love to see it so that I can share that with everyone else. So last week I did some dyeing. So I finished with, I did lilac and blush, smoke, and sea green. I just need to label those. Labels are ready to go. As soon as I'm done here, that is going to be my next job. I also did a one-of-a-kind batch that I showed you last week that I did some with the leftover bits in the bottom of the dye packets. These were all done in the same pan, but as you can see, they are all quite different. This one here particularly is much lighter than the rest. These ones are fairly similar, but some have more yellow, some have more white. So these will be on my stall as one of a kinds. None of this is going to be listed on my website. Everything is just going to be available at markets, and then I will gradually put it onto the site once I've gone through a few markets this year. And this week I have dyed some more solid tonal colors. I've done rose hip, salmon, while the sun shines, and aqua. So they will be dry shortly. They're just hanging to dry now. So I'm going to get their labels ready. And then that is pretty much all of the solids I think I'm going to do. I might include a darker blue. And then I'm going to do a few variegateds that are going to match up with these colors. And that will be the solids for this session, I guess. Then I need to double check my stock yarn. I know that I have done quite a lot. Just near the end of the year, I did quite a lot of stock yarn dyeing. So there is plenty already done. I just need to check some of the levels of some of the colors. But I'm feeling pretty prepared and ready at this point for markets. And I'm kind of itching to get going. And it's still a few weeks away. I don't want to wish the time away because I know that as it gets closer, I will for sure wish that I had more time. But I'm really looking forward to getting back out and seeing everyone again. Something else that I've been playing around with is making my own sock tubes, like sock blanks. So I had an old base of sock yarn. I had 2 cones left over that I decided not to dye up because I changed to a different sock yarn base. So I've been making on my very cheap, bought from Temu sock knitting machine. I've made these really long, thin tubes. So it's two strands of sock yarn held together, and it ends up weighing 100 grams total. And I'm going to experiment and play around with dyeing these up in a few different ways and have them as one of a kinds to put on my market stalls as well. Be really fun to see how they knit up. And I've been having fun cranking them out. It's the kind of thing you can do while you're watching a show or something, when I kind of don't feel like knitting but still want to be doing something productive with my hands. So I've just been cranking these. So I've got a few done already. They do take a little while, but I feel like it's a good use of some yarn that otherwise was just going to sit in my stash over here and not get used for anything. So I am working on that little project as well. I feel like I've had a fairly unproductive crafting week. I've kind of flitted from one thing to another and not made much progress on anything at all. I think it's a combination of things, I think. Um, I've come back from holiday and had to go back to work. I have just got a massive yarn haul and I've got all these ideas in my head about what I want to make with those things. I had already had a few things sort of coming along in the pipeline of things that I really wanted to knit, lots of patterns I wanted to knit. And then I did that video about my unfinished objects. And so then I've got those kind of churning around in my head as well. So there's a lot going on, and I just haven't been able to focus on any one thing in particular. So let me show you what I did do. And as you can see, it's a bit all over the shop. So I did work on my Clementine cowl this week. Probably not as much as I should have, but I was really enjoying this on the cruise, sitting out on the ocean and watching the world go by. And so I kind of have been thinking about my holiday while I've been starting to knit on this. And so I've kind of, yeah, it's kind of been a nice thing, but also was like, oh, but I'm not on holiday anymore. So I am into the textured section. This is While the Sun Shines, and this is Morning Glow. And I showed you the full length of the ripple section last time with my provisional cast on, and I've made a little bit of progress on the texture. And I'm really enjoying it still, and it's a nice mindless thing to do with the 4-row stitch repeat, but I still do have a reasonable amount to do to finish that one off. Last week I spoke quite a bit about the Evanescence jacket by Joey Locatelli, and I showed you my colour swatches and how I had decided that I was going to go lilac and then lilac and the glacier. So that's going to go like that, and then it's going to go down to the rose quartz and then the champagne. So happy with my color choices, and I did cast it on. I did have a few false starts though. I kept not getting my stitch count right, and undoing mohair is not fun. So I had to battle with it a little bit. One of the cast-ons got completely thrown away. Lucky I have plenty of yarn. And I have done one stitch repeat now, and I think in a couple of spots I have actually missed a yarn over somewhere, and I've messed up the lace repeat a little bit. So, and I'm not going to rip this back, but it is now short one stitch again. So when I first cast it on, you sort of do half, and then you do short rows, and then you do the other half, and then you connect them together. And I think somewhere in this middle section on the pearl row back, I think I grabbed 2 stitches together. And then when I went to do the first lace pattern, it clearly didn't work. And I counted the stitches before I did that purl row, and they were fine. So I ripped it back, and I still couldn't figure out where I'd lost the stitch. So I literally did start it all over again. And then Then I was okay. And then now, as I said, now I've done a full lace repeat and I'm pretty sure I've messed it up, but it's really pretty. This is the back. That's like the neck opening there, and that's the shoulders. So I figure if I've made a slight little boo-boo in the lace, it's not going to be super obvious. I could probably do a little stitch to close up the gap where I've made a mistake. So I am going to just fudge it at this point. I'm going to add one extra stitch on this side over here, work the pattern, mark the repeats this time so that I don't mess it up. Or if I do, I can count where the mess up actually happened. But again, I'm probably going to fudge this a little bit because if I do make any mistakes, ripping out mohair just causes knots and is quite horrible to do. So yeah, that's my progress on the evanescence. And I'm not sure how much progress I will make in this next week or so because I've got some other things that are kind of distracting me at the moment, as I said. So this one, unless I'm in a real thinking mood, may just sit for a little while. I was wanting something really simple that I didn't have to think about because everything else I have is quite patterned. Even the Clementine cowl has, you've got to think about it every once in a while. So I decided that I'd cast on a pair of socks so that I could sit and watch sporting events over the Easter weekend and not have to have any brain power. So I cast on a pair of socks, which I haven't had on the needles for quite a while. I'm using half-baked hand-dyed, one of her balls. It is do I have the tag in here? I do. It is the Caper colorway, and it's her superwash merino nylon Aussie self-striping sock yarn. There's her tag. And I have I used some of a scrap that I found in my stash. This is, I think, my hand-dyed yarn in Ocean. So I use that for the toe. I'm going to use it for the heel and the cuffs as well. I'll probably make these a longish pair and then I'll end up being able to make a shorty as well. So I've done the toe and I'm through almost one repeat of the pattern. I think it goes back into the pink after this yellow. So that's looking quite nice. So I did that. I actually did some unknitting. I ripped out completely my co-line jumper. There it is there. I had only just done at the very start of the yoke. I'd only just done that top section of patterning. So as I discussed in my unfinished objects video, I was worried that leaving that for too long and coming back to it, my tension was going to change quite a bit, and that something like this was going to be more of a focus project that I should probably do more in one go rather than having too many projects at the same time because of that tension issue. So it is ripped back. I have taken all of this yarn out, and then I also pulled back that's the color section. Now this is Owl of Athena, and I think the colorway is called Potion, which is really, really pretty. And having pulled this out gave me inspiration for my Mosaica shawl that I had started and stopped because I wasn't happy with the colors. So I wanted to talk about color choice. I talked a little bit about it last week with moving those colors around in the Evanescence swatch and how it completely changed how the blue looked within that sequence and which colors it was marled with. And I think this is another really interesting example of color choice. And it's all personal preference, but just changing the colors, how different a project can look. So my original colors were here. So this is the white in this is called, I think it's called Tea Room or Rose Garden or Tea Garden, something like that. It's from Yarn Trader. I've got the details somewhere. I can put it in the description. Then this color here is Cinnamon, and then this is a green. And so this was my first go at this. And I really wanted to use this Yarn Trader yarn, the light white speckles. I thought that this color would, the darker, like rusty cinnamon, would go quite well, but I feel like it's too overpowering. And then wasn't even sure about the green. Like, I like the green, but this is just too much, I felt. So that was my first attempt. So I'm continuing to use, this is the white speckle that's in this, but I have grabbed this is a one of a kind colorway that I bought from Bomb Yarn on my recent holiday. And when I bought this, I thought that it could be used to go with that. There's not any colors that overlap really. And so I thought I could use these two together in that slip stitch pattern. Then I pulled out that Coline jumper, and all of a sudden I'm like, this would be the perfect color as the solid textured sections to go with these two. And I'm really, really happy with how they look. So here is my progress on version 2 of the Mosaica shawl. And how much better, I mean, again, personal preference, but how much different and better does this look compared to this? So I am so much happier with this. I think that it's really beautiful. You can see it's subtle, but you can still see it. And I've just started, sorry, you can hear my needles tapping against the computer there. And I've just started the reverse, so it's not as obvious in this, but I think it looks really nice. And this being a tonal, it's got blues and purples, it's just really, really pretty, and I think it's a lovely match between the two. So I only cast this on yesterday, and this is my progress, and I'm so happy with that I stopped, that I'm still able to use this yarn. And so now I've got cruise number 1 and cruise number 2 in terms of my crafting cruises. And then I've added in a really special hand-dyed skein as well. So 3 independently dyed hand-dyed skeins, which I think is going to make a really lovely finished product. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and look forward to seeing you next week on the farm. Bye.